Hi, I'm Erica Hoyer, and today's short sweep practice is the second in our series targeting strengthening your core. So as always, beginning with the breath. So first noticing your breath and then beginning to use the breath to build core strength and lightness. So the inhale is what builds the lightness and kind of lifts the back of the heart away from the sacrum, so you feel a lift up the inside of the spine and the palate. And the exhale, you take down the inside of the spine and into the inside of the sacrum until you feel the pelvic floor lift. The low belly scoop, the pelvic floor lift. And then you hold that strength and inhale from it to lift the back of the heart away from the pelvis. And then keep that lift and exhale from it down the inside of the spine into the core to lift the pelvic floor. And just 5 breaths where you feel like you're lifting the back of the heart away from the core and getting that inner spine lift, and the exhale down the inside of the spine to build the core strength and pick up the pelvic floor. And then inhale from that strength, so holding the strength and inhaling to lift the back of the heart. Exhaling inside the spine, core, pelvic floor. One more. You want to keep this breath going the whole time, but one more to focus. Inhale, lifting the back of the heart away from the pelvis. Exhale, deep into the core, pick up the pelvic floor. Good. And then Roz is going to come and lie down on the mat. And we'll start in Supta Samastitihi. So Supta Samastitihi seems like just lying on the mat, but of course it's yoga, so it's more than just that. So you want to tuck the chin down and in, release the base of the skull, let the back of the neck vertebrae lengthen, and make sure you've moved your shoulder blades down towards the pelvis, and then moved the sacrum, the back of the pelvis, down towards the heels, which activates you through the heels, and you push through the heels, pulling the toes towards your nose and pushing through the roots of the toes, but mainly the heels. And then as you inhale, push through the heels and lift the back of the heart away from the heels. And again, you feel that lift up the inside of the spine. And then exhale, squeeze the legs, pull them into the core, push through the feet. Inhale, lift the back of the heart away from the heels. And then exhale, and everything starts to feel like it's coming into the core at the bottom of the exhale. Lift the pelvic floor, and then keep that strength and inhale, lift everything away from it, or lengthen everything away from it through the heels, back of the heart. Exhale, back into the midpoint. One last one, push through the heels, back of the heart away from the heels. And then as you exhale into the core, pick up the pelvic floor and get ready to move. Inhale and bring the knees towards your chest. So you needed to have core strength to do that. And bring the knees in, heels towards the bum. So this is an interesting place to exercise core. You want to feel like you're pulling your knees towards your chin, to your chest, and then up towards your chin, and the heels towards your bum. So you're doing a scrunch. The scrunch that takes you deep into the core. Inhale, push through the heels, lift the back of the heart away from the heels. Exhale, drawing the knees in and up, heels towards the bum. One last one like this. Inhale through the heel, push through the heels, lift the back of the heart. Exhale, scrunch, pulling the knees in and up, heels towards the chest. Then we're going to inhale, push through the heels, lift the back of the heart, and open the arms out to the side, both of them. Good. Palms up, shoulder blades down. And as you push through the heels and inhale, lifting the back of the heart away from the heels, you feel like it lifted up and out through the fingertips. Then we're going to come into a twist. Exhale into the core, pick up the pelvic floor, and when the core is engaged, lower your knees down to the side, but don't bring them to the floor. You want to hover. Pushing through the heels, lifting the back of the heart out through the fingertips, and really coming into the core, and you start to feel a nice twist and a very deep core. So we'll take 3 breaths here, focusing on the core on the exhale. And if you feel like you can do more, you can start pushing through the heels and straightening the legs. Inhale, push through the heels, stretch out through the fingertips. Exhale into the core, pick up the pelvic floor. Push through the heels, toes towards your nose. Lift the back of the heart out through the fingertips. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core, pick up the pelvic floor, bend the knees. Inhale, bring them up to center. Good. Exhale, heels to the bum, knees to the chest and up to the chin. And then inhale, push through the heels, lift the back of the heart out through the fingertips. Exhale, nice into the scrunch, pick up the pelvic floor, and then lower the knees down to the other side, to the left, hovering, so don't lower them down to the floor. And then find your form. So push through the heels, lift the back of the heart, out through the fingertips, exhale, core. Good. And then if you feel like you want more and you don't need to, yeah, because you want to stay focused on the core, then you can inhale and push through the heels, lift the back of the heart out through the fingertips, squeeze the legs and pull them into the core on the exhale. Inhale, push through the heels, toes towards your nose. Exhale, core, pelvic floor, bend the knees. Inhale, come up. Good. And then exhale, core, pelvic floor, and then inhale and bring the feet up to the ceiling. And we're just going to take 5 breaths here, focusing on the form and the energy. So as you inhale and push the heels into the ceiling virtually, you're rolling the sacrum and the spine into the floor, and the heart lengthens away from the heels and out through the fingertips. As you exhale, everything comes back into the midline, into the core, squeezing the legs, pulling into the core. Hold that core and inhale from it, pushing through the heels, rolling into the mat, lifting the back of the heart out through the fingertips. Exhale, core, squeeze, pull into the core. One more breath. Inhale, push, lengthen, lift the back of the heart out through the fingertips. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core, pick up the pelvic floor, and with that core engaged, begin to lower down. And you can bring them all the way to the floor, or you can hover and then inhale and push the heels away and use the inhale to lift back up. Yes, lifting the back of the heart out through the fingertips. Exhale, squeeze the legs, pull into the core, and from that core lifted pelvic floor, lower down. And then inhale, push through the heels, lift the back of the heart and come up with the legs on the inhale. And then exhale, squeeze, everything comes into the midline, pelvic floor, lower down. Inhale, push and lengthen to come up. Exhale, squeeze and pull in, core, pelvic floor to lower down. Inhale, push and lengthen to come up. Exhale, squeeze and pull into the core to lower down. Nice, one more. Inhale, lengthen to come up. Good. Exhale, squeeze and come down and all the way down. Whew, nicely done. Okay, but we're not finished yet. Short and sweet, but not that short and sweet. Okay, we're going to come up into Navasana, which we did in our last core exercise. And this is an interesting one. You really need to use your breath for this one too. Yeah, so feet, always the toes towards your nose, which gives you a bigger push through the heels. Squeezing the legs to pull them back into the core. Okay, so the inhale, you push through the heels and roll everything into the mat, lengthening the back of the heart. On the exhale, you curl into the core and begin to come up on the last third, and then inhale and come up, pushing through the heels. So it's an extension up. And then exhale into the core, staying here. And then inhale, push and lift the back of the heart up. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core, pick up the pelvic floor. Inhale, push through the heels and come up. And exhale and lower down. Core, pelvic floor, nicely done. Yeah? So on the inhale, pushing through the heels and curling the body into the mat. On the exhale, curling into the core and beginning to come up. And then inhale and lift. And exhale, squeeze towards the midline, pull into the core, lift up the pelvic floor. Inhale, push, lift the back of the heart. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core, pick up the pelvic floor. Inhale, push through the heels, lift the back of the heart. Exhale, squeeze towards the midline and come down. And we'll do it one more time. The inhale rolls the back of the body into the mat. The exhale squeezes into the midline, begins the curl up, pick up the pelvic floor. Inhale and come up. Exhale, core. Inhale, push through the heels, lift the back of the heart. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core, lift up the pelvic floor. Inhale, push, lift the back of the heart. Exhale, squeeze, pick up the pelvic floor and roll down. Nicely done. Whew, still not finished though. Okay, we're gonna come up to sitting, and come into on our bellies. This way. Yeah? Okay. So Shalabhasana. I like to call this Superman pose in the last session, or the last part of it. Okay, so you want to feel this is nice because it now stretches out the front, which you've used in the other poses we did for the core. Okay, so you need a nice deep exhale into the core. You want to have an inner spin to the thighs. This is good. Tops of the feet on the floor, so you can press the toenails into the floor, push back through the heels. Shoulder blades, sacrum always dropping towards the heels so that you get the rebounding lift of the back of the heart away from the heels. Yeah, shoulders you want to make sure are not straining. That helps to have that sense of, as the heart lifts away from the heels, it comes out through the fingertips, and from that strong extension you can pull back into the shoulder sockets, which is the action of the shoulder blades dropping down. Okay, so we're going to inhale, find that extension through the fingertips, away from the heels, heels away from the fingertips. Exhale, nice squeeze towards the midline, pull into the core, pick up the pelvic floor. And then you're going to inhale and raise the left arm by not just lifting it, but stretching it out. Exhale, squeeze towards the midline, pull into the core, pick up the pelvic floor, everything dropping through the heels. Inhale, push through the feet, lift the back of the heart out through the fingertips. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core, pick up the pelvic floor. One more, inhale, extend to lift. Exhale, core, pelvic floor, and lower down. Okay, then the foot. Inhale, extend back to lift up. Exhale, squeeze the legs, pull into the core. Inhale, extend out to lift up. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core. Inhale, extend out to lift up. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core and lower down, and then we'll do the other side. Then, so nice deep core, pick up the pelvic floor. Inhale, extend the right arm out to lift it up. Exhale, core, pelvic floor, nice. Inhale, extend to lift. Exhale, everything comes back into the core. One more, inhale, extend to lift. Yes, lovely. Exhale, core, pelvic floor, and come down. And then right into the leg. Inhale, extend out to lift. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core, pick up the pelvic floor. Nice. Inhale, extend. Exhale, core, pelvic floor. One more, inhale, extend. And exhale, release. Good. Lower back should feel okay because shoulder blades, sacrum, heels are all moving down, back of the heart is lifting. So you're moving in two directions out of the pelvis to lengthen it. Okay, now we're going to go into the combinations. So we'll go with the left arm and the right leg first. Nice exhale, pulling everything into the midpoint, pick up the pelvic floor, and then inhale, extend out to lift up on both sides. Exhale, squeeze towards your midlines and pull back into the core. Inhale, stretch out to lift. Exhale, squeeze towards midlines, pull into the core. Inhale, stretch out to lift. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core, pick up the pelvic floor and release. Into the other side. So nice deep core, pelvic floor, exhale, and then inhale and extend out to lift up through the opposite side. Yes, core, good. Inhale, stretch out to lift. Lift the back of the heart. Exhale, squeeze towards the midline, pull into the core. One more, inhale. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core and release. Okay, so it's the law of inevitability that it all has to come together in one big thing. I know, but we're almost finished now. Good. So arms out, legs out. Okay, inner spin to the thighs, feeling the front of the pelvis open to the floor. Feeling some energy in the arms, so you have an internal spin there too, but then an external wrap of the shoulders, so you have an energy out and in. Good. And then exhale, squeeze the legs towards the midline, pull into the core, pick up the pelvic floor, drop the sacrum, and inhale, stretch out to come up. Exhale, squeeze towards the midline, pull into the core, try and soften the buttocks by lifting the pelvic floor. Inhale, stretch to lift. Exhale, squeeze to pull into the core. Inhale, stretch to lift. Exhale, squeeze to pull in the core and release. Okay, so that one's the one that's a bit like Superman. So you can play with it a little bit. You want to play? Okay, we'll go up again. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core, pick up the pelvic floor. Inhale, extend out to lift. Exhale, veer right. Inhale, come to center. Exhale, core. Inhale, veer left. Saving the world. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, center. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, center. And release. High five. Bringing your arms back. Inhale up. And then swinging the legs around, and we'll stretch out a little bit in the pelvic tilts. Okay. So you want your feet to be wider than hip width, so they're just out a little bit and the knees naturally come together. Yeah. Same awareness you want to have now of the back of the body dropping, heels down, rolls sacrum, spine into the floor, lifts the back of the heart away from the heels as you inhale. Okay, and your exhale always curls you into the core. So work with the breath. On an inhale, pushing the heels, curling into the mat, back of the heart lengthens. Exhale, take that whole curl fluidly up, stretching the knees over the toes, pushing down through the heels, releasing the buttocks, dropping the sit bones into the top of the hamstrings. Core is engaged. Inhale, push down and reach through the knees to stretch the front body and lift the back body. Exhale and come down, core, pelvic floor. Push down through the heels, curl into the mat. Inhale, and then exhale and take the curl up. Strong core, stretching through the knees, lift the pelvic floor, drop the sit bones, and then inhale, push down, stretch through the knees, and lift the back body, stretch the front body. Exhale, squeeze the legs, pull into the core, pick up the pelvic floor. Drop the heels, roll into the mat as you inhale, lifting the heart. Exhale, take the curl up, squeezing the legs, stretching knees over toes, dropping sit bones into top of hamstrings, and then push down, stretch. Inhale and lift the back body, stretch the front body. Try and get a stretch through the hip flexors. And then on an exhale, coming down, core, pelvic floor. Good. We'll do one more and we'll stay up there on this one. So pushing down through the heels. Inhale, curl into the mat. Feel the back of the heart lengthen. Exhale, curl, taking it up. Nice strong core. Lift the pelvic floor. Stretch the knees. Soften the buttocks. Drop the sit bones into the top of the hamstrings. And this time we're going to walk our shoulders under and interlace the fingers. And bend the elbows slightly to push the elbows into the floor. And as you breathe, it's the same thing. This time you're pushing elbows into the floor and heels. So you start to lengthen in two directions, lifting the back of the heart away from the heels, stretching the knees away from the back of the heart. Exhale, core, pelvic floor. And on an inhale, coming up onto the roots of the toes. Yes. Taking your brain to your hamstrings and lifting the hamstrings up into the bones as you inhale and stretch the front body, lift the back body. Good, really going for the hip flexors here. Core engages, pick up the pelvic floor, inhale, push down, lift through the hamstrings. And then exhale, core, pelvic floor, keep your pelvis up and sneak your heels to the floor. Nice. And take two more breaths. Inhale, pushing down through the elbows, heels, stretching through the knees, dropping the sit bones into the top of the hamstrings, core, pelvic floor. One more. Inhale, lift the back of the heart. And then exhale and come down, core, pelvic floor. Good. Inhale, bring your knees to your chest. 3 nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Feet stay flexed. Yeah, so pushing through the heels, the roots of the toes, toes towards your knees. And as always, inhale, push through the heels, back of the heart lengthens away from the heels, palate is open. Exhale, squeeze, pull into the core, and you can bring your knees a little closer into your chest and up to your chin, and just explore the release in the lower back. But always find the lift of the pelvic floor at the bottom of the exhale. That helps to stabilize the complexity that is your pelvis and your sacrum. And then whenever you feel like that's enough, laying yourselves down for Shavasana. Well-deserved Shavasana. especially after saving the world like that. Yeah, so making sure the base of the skull is released, chin tucked down and in, releasing through the vertebrae of the neck, peeling the tongue off the roof of the mouth, letting the teeth part slightly, lips soften, smiling to yourself, feeling how that lifts and opens the back of the palate, letting that move out, that release through the hinges of the jaw and the inside space of the ears and into the skin of the scalp and the face, and down into the tops of the shoulders and the chest, and down the lengths of the arms into the fingers and fingertips, down through the chest and the ribs, the vertebrae behind the heart, the back ribs, the spine, the lower back, the belly, the hips, the buttocks, the thighs, knees, down into the ankles, soles of the feet. And you're just waiting for the layers to release. And noticing the skin of your body, trying to let your awareness rise into the skin so that it feels like it releases away from the structure. And as you observe that happen, then the structure begins to release away from the skin and downwards towards the floor. And when that happens, then there's often a release through the nerves. And a release through the nerves sends a wash of awareness back up through the skin until you can often feel the tingling and prickling in the skin. And just float in that as the inner space of the body opens and a stillness comes in. Thanks for joining us. If you want any information on Yoga with Erica, check yogayukon.ca, and see you next time. Namaste.